Let's dive into the eerie and captivating world of vampire myths, legends rooted in fear, folklore, and a surprising dose of medieval superstition. The vampire legend didn't emerge from thin air. It dates back to at least the early 18th century, when fear of death and disease spurred communities to craft supernatural explanations. A well-known historical case took place in 1725 in Kisiljevo, Serbia. A farmer by the name of Petar Blagojevich was posthumously accused of causing the deaths of his neighbors. When his body was exhumed, it reportedly looked suspiciously fresh, terrifying villagers who believed he had returned as an undead monster. This fear wasn't unique to Serbia. Across Eastern Europe, communities held similar vampire trials, blending death with mysterious folklore to explain the unexplainable. These early vampires were nothing like the refined, seductive creatures we recognize today. Instead, they appeared as bloated, decayed bodies, with ruddy faces and sometimes traces of blood around their mouths, likely natural results of decomposition. Misunderstood by villagers as sinister signs of vampirism, the symptoms of certain diseases added fuel to these fears. Rabies and tuberculosis, for example, could make victims seem pale, withdrawn, and even sensitive to light. These traits seemed to confirm supernatural explanations, cementing the idea of the vampire in the popular imagination as a terrifying, undead presence. As these stories circulated, vampires moved from rural legends to literary icons. By the mid-18th century, Europe was awash in vampire hysteria. Pope Benedict XIV even went so far as to issue statements declaring vampires as fallacious fictions. Despite this, vampire tales persisted, attracting writers who helped cement vampire traits into popular culture. In 1748, German poet Heinrich Ossenfelder published Der Vampir, featuring a vampire seducing his victim. This portrayal introduced the notion of vampires as cunning seducers, linking them to aristocracy and mystery rather than grotesque walking corpses. The most iconic literary leap came in 1897 with Bram Stoker's Dracula. Stoker drew inspiration from European legends and historical figures like Vlad the Impaler, combining them to create a powerful, enigmatic character who drank blood and turned into a bat. This novel also introduced garlic and crucifixes as vampire repellents, adding layers to vampire lore that still endure today. With Dracula, the vampire solidified its image as a symbol of forbidden allure and fear, blending horror with seductive charm. The legend became inextricably tied to themes of lust, predation, and the corruption of innocence, resonating with readers and giving vampires a place in Western horror and beyond. In the 20th century, the vampire transformed yet again. Early films, like the silent movie Nosferatu, released in 1922, leaned into the grotesque, portraying vampires as nightmarish fiends. But it was Bela Lugosi's portrayal in the 1931 film Dracula that truly popularized the image of vampires as charismatic, even gentlemanly figures. Since then, the vampire's role has continued to shift. The allure of eternal life, nocturnal power, and rebellion against social norms has made vampires ideal symbols in books, movies, and TV shows. From Anne Rice's The Vampire Chronicles to Twilight, these tales portray vampires as complex, tragic figures rather than mere monsters. What's fascinating is how this transformation reveals as much about us as it does about the vampire myth. Initially, vampires were scapegoats for deaths communities couldn't explain, offering supernatural answers to epidemics. But as medical science clarified the causes of disease, vampires became more symbolic, embodying our fears, desires, and societal tensions. They've evolved from fearsome creatures of folklore to reflective icons of human complexity, bridging old-world superstitions with modern narratives of mystery, allure, and eternal life. This rich evolution shows that while the myth of the vampire has deep roots in old-world fears, it remains very much alive, haunting our imagination and reflecting our changing world. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this dive into vampire legends, don't forget to subscribe for more intriguing historical explorations. And feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think about the origins of these myths.